Hello again, and here we are at Perfectly Paranormal, episode 112. My name's Annaschmidt, and I'm here every week to share with you true paranormal encounters and information about devils, demons, and dark energy beings that no one else talks about. And today you are going to get an in-depth understanding of energy orbs. Some people call them spirit orbs, dust orbs, or even bugs randomly flying past your camera. So we're going to look at what they really are and why do we see them. And I have 8 different types of orbs to share with you today that I've gathered through some of my personal experiences, but also some of my friends and clients. They've shared photos, videos, and just their personal stories about seeing orbs. So let's get into it. Now, there's always a lot of talk about spirit orbs. People get either quite frustrated or quite excited when the words are mentioned. And do we really know what these strange shapes that are sometimes seen with the naked eye, but more often captured on camera and videos? Are they dust, moisture, bugs, or something else? Light anomalies really are fascinating to study. And I haven't had a lot of experiences with them, but I can share with you what I know. And I have to say, I had a bit of a giggle when reading some of the comments on Reddit. It really does get people's backs up when you talk about spirit orbs. Now, seeing orbs doesn't necessarily mean that they are scary ghosts or dark entities. I think they're different types of environmental, spirit, and energy beings who use orb energy, possibly as transportation, or as a representation of their personal energy and how we see them manifesting in this earth environment. And they come in so many different shapes, colours, sizes, the way they move, and the level of transparency. So let's break down the 8 specific groups that I've come up with. And I've started with the ones that are most often argued about. And we're going to lead right through to some orb energy spectres that I see quite often, and I know these are definitely real. So let's look at number 1, the well-loved dust orbs. These fast or slow-moving particles of something that people often see on videos or when they're taking photos. And I've seen many of these in many dark buildings when I've been filming on my phone, and I have seen dust flying through the air. And there were so many of them that it was just dust. It was just because I was in an old building and I was stirring up the energy of the building as I was walking through it. It's just what happens. Once you get used to looking at the different types of orbs, if you actually do see a spirit orb, or some of the other orbs I'm going to talk about later, you will know the difference instantly between insect orbs, dust orbs, and real orbs that are coming from spirits or other energy beings. Now, the dust ones, they're not always an orb shape. They can be quite random. It's because it's simply just particles of dust and skin flakes and maybe bits of hair and icky stuff we don't even really want to talk about. They're always misshapen. They're just bits of fluff and stuff floating about because we disturb locations when we're walking around in them. It's as simple as that. Now, number 2, insect orbs. These fast or slow-moving, randomly misshapen objects. They're quite often drawn to your camera light or drawn to a phone light. Just like when you turn the light on out in your backyard if you're going to take some, trash to the bin. So it's the same thing. And bug orbs, they seem to move in a really specific way. If you watch a lot of orb videos, you can often pick up the bug orbs as they're flying insect movements and they're just darting about like they normally do. They have that insect type movement. Now, number 3, these get more interesting. trickster orbs. Now these might be elemental beings, such as fairies, pixies, or other earth energy beings, showing up or travelling through our environment in possibly some sort of orb-like structure. Or, quite often, I wonder, is that how their energy shows up in our earth vibration? I mean, really and truly, I'm not a scientist, can't explain it any other way other than what I've seen. This is a funny little experience I'd like to share with you. I was at a meditation group one day, and I was sitting there and we were getting into our meditation. You all know how it goes. And I had my eyes shut. And all of a sudden, I felt something fly around my face. So I opened my eyes and I saw this tiny white glowing, we'll call it an orb or a sphere. It was probably about the size of a pea. Imagine your green peas that are growing out in the garden. And this small, white, glowing, pea-sized light flew straight up my nostril. Can't remember, it was either the left or the right. It's really quite irrelevant. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, what the heck has just flown up my nose? Now, if any of you out there have experienced an insect flying up your nose, like a small fly or a moth, I've had that before. It's kind of similar, but you can blow those out. I know that sounds disgusting, but it is just the way it is. You get rid of those. This little glowing whatever it was, because I didn't know what it was at the time, it was inside my nostril and it was moving around and it was poking and it was pushing my face. It was the funniest thing because for a couple of days after this thing went up my nose, I didn't tell anybody because they would have thought I was totally nuts. For a couple of days, if I was thinking about a problem and I had a couple of options come up as answers, if my head got pushed to the left, that was a yes. If it got pushed to the right, that was a no. Now, most of you all think I'm a little bit crazy or I'm just making it up. No, this is absolutely 100% true. It was one of the weirdest paranormal experiences I have ever had. Anyway, I was going to bed one night and I was thinking about this thing up my nose as I'm drifting off to sleep. Sometimes my psychic skills will kick in if I need to solve a problem, and I'm quite visual. And what I saw in my mind was a little elemental being, like something out of, like if any of you have seen beings like the Cornish pixies that were in the Harry Potter movies, this was a tiny, weeny, little being that had that sort of facial feature. It's what popped into my head. And I instantly sat up and I went, it's a pixie! And as soon as I said that, whatever it was that was up my nose, it shot out of my nostril and it was never seen again. Now let's look at number 4. Let's move on. People's soul energy, people orbs, spirit orbs, soul energy orbs, whatever you want to call them. Now, I didn't fully believe in seeing anything other than dust or bug orbs until I had that experience with the trickster entity. But next, I started seeing people orbs. This isn't through other people's videos or pictures on the internet. This was me seeing them in my camera. Because I do quite a lot of filming, making shorts for my YouTube channel and to share on Facebook and so forth. And these moving balls of light, they move with intention, almost like a living person. It's like they're going somewhere. They don't dart about like the bug orbs, dust orbs, just doing what dust does. These are usually, what I've seen, are single orbs and they're on a mission, like they're going somewhere. They can speed up, they can slow down, they can change direction, like they can do right angles. And I've never seen a bug or a dust orb do right angles. Like these large orbs, they can be the size of a baseball sometimes. And that is definitely not dust or bugs. I always think that spirits each have their own skill when they leave their body. Some of them might be good at being seen as a full apparition. They might be good at being seen as a partial apparition or a face or, turning on the radio and playing that favourite song that you used to listen to with Dad before he passed away. They've all got their own skill. And I think that some spirits are really attuned with being able to show themselves in this sort of orb soul-like energy. Also too, I've read online that some people have blown up spirit orb photos and clearly seen faces in them. Now, a lot of you out there will be going, oh yeah, this is just pareidolia, which is something I'm going to talk about in another episode. It's very possible that we want to see something in these orbs, but maybe not. Sometimes faces are clearly defined and they can be easily seen, even by the skeptics. I've shown people photos who I know are very skeptical, and I've said to them, can you see anything in the background of this photo? And when they attune their eyes to looking, like they look often enough, maybe they slightly squint or their eyes sort of focus changes, like when we used to have those magic 3D books and you had to squint your eyes and move the book in and out until your focus changed, and then you could see the magic picture hiding amongst all the chaos on the page. I think seeing faces in items and objects, sometimes they are just the shape of the brickwork or just a shadow, but other times they are definitely faces. And this is quite funny. Spirit orbs can move through walls and they can move through furniture. It's like they're on a mission and they don't care what's in their way. They just walk through walls, whereas dust, debris and insect orbs, they can't do that. Another little example for you. I had a friend who does a lot of paranormal investigation. She told me that her most memorable experience with a spirit orb was that she was upstairs in a particularly well-known haunted location here in Hobart. And she'd never seen an orb in this building. And she was setting up her equipment for a tour that night. And all of a sudden she looked up and there was a large, bright green spirit orb. I can't remember whether she said she saw someone in it or not. I just remembered the colour and the size. She said it was maybe nearly 1 metre across. It was massive. And this was in a totally dark location. And she believed that it was one of the spirit residents going about their business. It's just what they do. So number 5, let's move on to number 5. Now these are what I call nature energy orbs. Now, I've spoken to a lot of people who have seen orbs with their naked eyes outside in nature in daylight. These are people who have a passion for the garden, whether it's a vegetable garden or a formal garden with lawns or, flower gardens. Doesn't matter. It is a passion for nature. And these people are quite often gardeners, obviously, or landscape gardeners, or home gardeners, growing their own veggies and so forth. And some of these people have told me that they've seen orbs floating around trees as almost translucent glowing circles of white light, sometimes golden light, sometimes green light. Are these the tree's energy, or are they cloaked nature carers, like that elemental that I was talking about earlier, that little pixie energy? Are these beings caring for the earth environment? And this is the way that they travel around in our environment. It's very possible. I'm never skeptical about any possibilities because as humans, we don't know it all. I only share with you what I've experienced or what people have told me through their real life experiences. Now, number 6, water droplet or moisture orbs. People talk a lot online on some of the question and answer sites like Reddit or Quora. They talk a lot about the moisture in the air reflecting on camera lights and showing up as white orb-like objects in film or in photos. Now, this is another possibility, and I'm not a scientist, so I can't break it down anymore for you. But I thought this needed including because it is a possibility that sometimes after maybe a big humid rainstorm, if you go outside and you're seeing orbs, is it the moisture in the air? Is it somehow connected to the humidity and the light? If anyone knows more about this, I'd love to hear your thoughts, your observations. So you can leave me a text or you can send me an email to spiritualbeing44@gmail.com. Now, number 7, we're getting to the cosmic orbs. I have seen one of these that a friend filmed on her property one night. This is in the middle of Tasmania. And she was outside, just sitting on her porch, out in the country, just listening to the crickets, listening to the frogs. She couldn't sleep, and she was just sitting there with a cup of tea, just staring up at the sky. When all of a sudden, this multicoloured, sort of geometric, it looked triangular when I was looking at it, but this thing, it was flitting about in the sky and it was moving around in these geometric patterns. And she was shocked. Like, she was stunned. She was standing there with her mouth open. She said to me, "It's a wonder I didn't catch flies." I was just dumbfounded at seeing this thing in the middle of the night, totally peaceful, totally calm, not a cloud in the sky. And this orb was just flitting and darting about. And she said it lasted for about 5, maybe 10 minutes, and then it just vanished. Now, was this a cosmic vessel of some sort, traversing through the Earth's environment? Possibly. What do you think? Now, number 8, the angelic orbs. Now, don't laugh and don't turn off this podcast. These are real. I see them all the time because I'm aligned with working with higher vibrational beings, doing energy work. I work with the angels, work with the archangels. And I see these coloured tennis ball size orbs of light as a yes confirmation. Now let me explain. I see these angelic orbs day and night because I do a lot of energy work. I'm always looking for solutions to problems. So even if I'm sitting watching YouTube, I'm looking at YouTube, but my brain is solving a problem in the background. So I will see these cobalt blue tennis ball size orbs in my vision. It can be in my peripheral vision, or it can be right in front of my face. It can be slightly above my head. They don't move. They will simply flash that ball of colour and then disappear. So I find that angelic orbs are one way that the spirit guides, angels, archangels, or whatever you want to call them, they can contact you with colour to get you solutions. And I've learnt to trust it. So I do a lot of work with Archangel Michael. He's part of my team when I do my energy work. I work with Michael, I work with Raphael. And I find that cobalt blue is Archangel Michael's colour. I did look it up online because, remember, I don't know everything. And I'm like, I wonder who this colour belongs to. And it was absolutely appropriate because I work with that angelic being. He shows me that cobalt blue sign, that confirmation sign, when I'm on the right track. Whether it's a personal problem or I'm doing someone's energy clearing or I'm working on a property, I've learned to trust that cobalt blue sign. Now, it only flashes for about 2 to 3 seconds, so I've learned to trust it. And lastly, no, it's not number 9, but this is lastly, eye floaters. Those strange little floating things that you see in your eyes, they aren't orbs. I saw this mentioned online and people got quite aggro about it. I have a few eye floaters myself, and they're kind of dark, grain of sand size objects floating about in that gel in the field of vision. Like, they're just in your eyes sometimes. I don't have very many of them now. I used to have a lot of them in the past, but they're not orbs. They're just part of our physical nature. So what do you think? Have you ever seen orbs? And what did you make of them? What did they do? If you would like, you can leave me a fan mail message about your orb experience, or you can email me at spiritualbeing44@gmail.com. And the last thing I'll say about orbs, next time you see one, observe without judgment and see what happens. Are they directionally flying? Are they stationary? Are they randomly wafting about? Or are they showing themselves to you for a reason and possibly wanting to communicate with you? So in episode 113, you can join me as we explore Amy's question about pareidolia. She asks, what is it? How does it relate to the paranormal? And how does people's fear of ghosts or darkness trigger them to see images of faces in photos, in objects, on the videos, or even in person? And is my mind playing tricks on me? So for Amy and all those people out there who are curious about pareidolia, join me next week to see what we can see in regards to pareidolia. Oh, and don't forget, if you like the content of this podcast and you don't want to miss any future episodes, please subscribe. And you can share with your friends so we can get the message out there. We can spread the message about these paranormal pranksters and what they get up to in our homes. I would really appreciate it. So thank you for joining me today. And don't forget, if you want to share a paranormal experience just with myself, or you would like me to share one of your experiences through my podcast, you can do a voice recording, or you can write out your experience and I will read it exactly as you have written. You can email me at spiritualbeing44@gmail.com. And for information on paranormal house clearing, you can visit my website, Spiritual Being. You will find the address in the description box. And I look forward to sharing this spooky space again with you next week. And remember, life is perfectly paranormal.